Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin. We're coming to you live tonight to talk about Travel Woes and Cigars.
Yes, thank you for bearing with us for a few minutes while we had some technical difficulties to get online. I'm excited to be with you guys tonight. So as Kevin said, the holiday season is officially upon us. And like many of us, you will be looking at some sort of travel over the next couple of weeks, maybe for Thanksgiving or Christmas or maybe even New Year's.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited about the holiday travel season. And when it comes to traveling, there's a long list of things that can and often do go wrong, especially when you're least expecting it.
Yes, the line for security is now officially longer than a humidor inventory, if you guys have been paying attention to the news at all lately.
Yeah, what an absolute crazy scenario at the airports across the country. And when you talk about longer than your humidor inventory, that's saying something, because your humidor inventory is really a cry for financial help.
That's true. I mean, I keep them spread out everywhere, so it's not all in one spot. But
Absolutely.
Welcome to the travel season. Nothing is guaranteed except the chaos and the possibility that your checked bag is currently on vacation without you somewhere else, or maybe you got left behind at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're really talking about something that hits every single one of us. Cigar enthusiasts, not only travelers, but travel woes. It's absolutely their everyday stuff that really just creates the cringe, the frustration, the special torture, and that's before we even bring cigars into it.
Yeah, 100%. But before we get any further, let's talk about what we're going to be smoking tonight.
Absolutely. So what are we going to be smoking tonight, Mel?
So tonight we are smoking the McAuliffe Green. This is the newest release from McAuliffe. It has a Brazil Metafina wrapper, San Andreas Nijo binder, and the Nicaraguan fillers.
So on the cold draw, I'm getting a little bit of that hints of espresso, a little bit of spice. I've never gotten this before, but on the Toro, I normally smoke the Robusto. Mm-hmm. There's almost a sweetness, almost like the aftertaste of a honey, more than a sweetness itself. But it's more of that lingering effect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great sum of the cold draw. I almost got us the Robustos, but I was worried we'd smoke them before we were done with the podcast, so I got us a bigger size.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get this cigar lit tonight so we can jump into the topic. The cigar lighting tonight is brought to you by Big Sky Cigar Company.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 107 factories rolled smoke butterflies. Reminders of ranchers' life, one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigars is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the bold bighorn flow. Madison River reflects what we know. And leave from Nicaragua, San Andreas to Ecuador rolled up.
And every box soul helps our veterans men. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning in every draw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows with every draw. Find your rare at Big Sky Cigar to pop.
Ask your local tobacconist about Big Sky Cigars today. If they do not carry them, shops can reach out to Brad Frazier to set up new accounts.
As always, a huge thank you to Big Sky. So now that we have the cigar lit, how has it changed for you from the cold draw?
Yeah, so in the cold draw, there was definitely that espresso note. I said there's a little bit of a hint of the sweetness. Once it's lit, and we're really only a couple of draws in, it's hard to give a really serious review of the cigar just a couple of draws in. I know they try to do that. The ash holes, one draw is the law. I'm not sure I'm quite there. They're maybe more educated than I am. But that light sweetness has really almost transitioned to a caramel note for me on the light, with a little bit of earthiness. So it's almost like an earthiness with that caramel kind of laying over the top of it. For those of you guys that have smoked the McAuliffe Green in the comments that are live this time on Facebook or here on YouTube, we would love to hear your thoughts on the McAuliffe Green and what you thought the really notes were when you first started smoking it. We'd also love to know what you're smoking tonight. Go ahead and drop in the comments what you're smoking, maybe what you're pairing it with. Tonight, I literally got home at 6:40ish, 6:35 in order for us to jump on tonight with a meeting that went hour and a half longer than anticipated. So I'm drinking water. I'm probably going to have some bourbon and watch Monday Night Football when we're done.
Yep.
Got to watch those Cowboys. But for tonight, it's holiday time. It's the right time of year for business trips to wrap up of the year. It's the right time of year for destination weddings. It's the right time of year if you live in the upper Midwest or New England. It's the perfect escape from the snow time of the year. And the travel industry is basically in full-blown fight or flight mode.
Yeah, that's 100% true. We are seeing historic crowds at airports. Also delays, weather craziness. The holidays have become the Olympics of patience.
Absolutely.
And airlines are breaking personal records for how many people they can stress out in a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a person, every delay, if you're a cigar person,
Yeah.
every delay is eating into your cigar time.
Yeah. 100%.
Every time they push it back 15 minutes, that's another petite Corona I could have smoked.
I know. And the unfortunate thing about an airline is there's really not a place that you can go enjoy a cigar while you're waiting. At least in the many airports we've gone to, I've never been able to find a place that's like, oh, this is a good place to have a cigar.
Yeah,
Like, there's
absolutely.
nowhere. So the plan for tonight, we are firstly going to go over universal travel woes. So this is the stuff your aunt is going to be complaining to you about in the group chat. Number 2 is going to be the travel woes for cigar people. So TSA, customs, all of that fun stuff. And then number 3 is going to be cigars you should bring when you travel. So we're going to talk about some different vitolas, profiles, and some ideas of what to pack.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to do it all with as little bitterness as possible, which is more than I can say for some of the airport coffees we've had.
Yeah.
Especially Starbucks. Man, I get it every time I go to the airport, but it needs lots of Splenda because their coffee is so bitter. If you're a Starbucks lover, I'm sorry. It's just tough.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our topic tonight. If you guys have any upcoming travels, feel free to put that in the comments below. We'd love to know if you are thinking you're going to have a peaceful holiday season, maybe at home, or if it's going to have a little bit more travel in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a few of you guys live tonight. Good evening, Dwayne, Conrad, John, Leslie. We love seeing you guys on. There's a few more. If you haven't commented tonight, we'd love to hear a shout out. But jumping right in the topic, let's start with the basics. Not even get into cigars yet. Just pure, unfiltrated suffering. Holiday travel edition, right?
Yes. So number 1 universal travel woe is going to be the crowd situation. So if you know me at all, I'm not a huge fan of crowds in terms of being kind of jam-packed in like sardines. That to me is a nightmare. But it's a bad when you're in line and inside the airport line is just wrapped around the building. Like people are lined up like they're going to get a free box of cigars if they wait in this line.
I'm not waiting in that line if there's a free box of cigars at the other end, depending on what cigar. The box, right?
I might not, depending on what the cigar is.
So there was a report that came out just a couple of other days that said over the last 2 weeks, there's been 3 different times where over 3 million people have been screened at U.S. airports in a single day. Now, a lot of that was because multiple flights were backed up. But here was the scary thing. When I did the research, that's not uncommon for Thanksgiving and Christmas week. Yeah. So there's a lot of people going to be in the airports the next few weeks. That is a human migration event. 3 million people sitting in airports. I'm telling you, it makes for a miserable time.
Yep.
And there is nowhere other outside of maybe 2 or 3 airports in the United States where you can light up a cigar and relax. Because I'm telling you, these things keep me from killing people.
Yeah. And of those 3 million people, you will run into a bunch of them that you don't know at the TSA pre-check line. Does the laptop need to be out of the bag? Does it need to be inside the bag? And to be fair, I do think it varies by which airport you travel. Sometimes it depends on which terminal you're in. We have been at the same airport multiple times, and sometimes they're like, all right, take the laptop out of the bag. And then other times when you ask them, they look at you like you're crazy, and they're like, no, you can keep that in there. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's absolute times where I feel like you could probably get a pocket knife through and any other thing you wanted. And then other days it's like, oh, you have a speck of grass from some other location. We've got to search everything. TSA is, you just got to get there early, be prepared, and have a good attitude about it. But there are some big stressors, and we're going to talk about the big 3 stressors real quick: delays, weather, and cancellations. Surveys show that people are the most worried about these 3 problems. And they're also secondary worried about crowded airports when they fly for the holidays. And let's be honest, Mel, they're not wrong.
Yeah. And let's talk about the rolling delay. So this is going to be my least favorite phenomenon. The airline is going to say, hey, this is going to be a few hours. But then it's always 30 more minutes, folks. And then they say that over and over again. So your flight is going to be delayed, but they're never going to come out and just say, hey, you're going to be sitting here for probably 5 hours. And then we might cancel your flight if we can't figure something out. Or they're never going to say that. They're going to be like, it's going to be 10 minutes, or something like that. I mean, they've switched me to different places. They're like, your flight's canceled, but you can get a ticket if you go across the street. Everybody goes in beelines for that. And then there's nothing left.
Absolutely. It's like being ghosted, right? But in slow motion. We value your business. Please stay by the gate forever.
Yes.
So we were in Muskegon, Michigan a few years ago, getting ready to fly back. We're on United, and they came out and they said, hey, this flight we're working on, we're getting it on you, but we don't worry, we've got you all rebooked on American Airlines. I'm like, well, why? I'm with United. They're like, well, it's just American, it works. So we finally get on the plane 9 hours later. We fly to Chicago. We're walking through the Chicago airport, past United flight that's got availability, past United flight that's got availability, to the American flight that rebooked us, and lo and behold, it was canceled. So we rushed back to the United flight, only to find that they now are all full. We began to ask, why did you move us from United to American? We discovered Muskegon, Michigan actually is an American port. That United plane was kind of weird that it was there. We ended up having to stay the night, and they're like, don't worry, just come to the desk at 4 a.m. So we slept at a hotel, horrible hotel, in the airport. We get up at 3 a.m. We get there at 4. We finally get on a flight at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
We lost an entire day of that trip because of this. So it's just the craziest thing.
It was super frustrating. I remember that well. But I do remember the silver lining, if you really want to see it, was we did get those $7 food vouchers to use once we got out of Muskegon. So, it was enough for a bad cup of coffee. Yeah. Or I think we split a sandwich or something. But there's just those times where you're also afraid to get food because, it's just a minute that you have to commit to that in real time. So suddenly they might just board the plane. That's happened to me before too, is they're like, all right, we're grounded. We're going to be here for probably, it was 45 minutes. So this guy goes up and goes to the bar. Not 10 minutes later, they're like, all right, everybody, let's board the plane. And I never saw him get on that plane. I don't know that he made it back on.
Yeah, I missed a flight. I was flying home from Washington, D.C., and we had been delayed. And so finally I went and ordered this restaurant because I was starving. I didn't even hear them call my name. Apparently they called my name 3 times at the gate. We're paging Kevin Bradford. We're closing the door. I got back over there. I'm like, man, is that flight left? They're like, yeah, they've kept paging this guy. I did not tell them I was that guy. I just went back up to another gate and rebooked, which was absolutely crazy. Leslie says, it always surprises me how TSA won't allow a lighter and they test my contact solution like they never question my knitting needles and scissors. Exactly. Like if you're going to take over the plane, the needles and the scissors are probably the tools you're going to use, not the torch.
I agree.
Absolutely. And so it is absolutely crazy when you get into TSA. What I absolutely hate is gate roulette. You land or you're sitting at gate A3, you set up camp, you get your charger out, your snacks, you got a bottle of water, maybe you're watching a movie on your laptop or trying to get some emails, and then suddenly, attention passengers, this flight has been moved to gate Z99. You got to walk the fairway, take the bus, get on a train, take a hopper plane to get over to the other terminal. And you all just kind of look around and go, did they just say gate Z99?
Yeah. Everybody looks at each other. Was that a Z? Was that a C? Like someone finally can muster up the courage to go talk to the person who's behind the counter, and then everybody just lumps onto them, and it's like a big unit. And then I do feel a little bad for the people who are standing behind the counter because it is not their fault, they're just taking the orders and they can only do so much. But everybody is just, sometimes people are just wailing on these poor people that are just there doing their job.
Absolutely. And it just goes like, run, we're boarding in 20.
Yeah.
That's what happened to us last time. It was, we were in E and they decided to board us in B. We get over there and they said, oh, we accidentally announced the wrong plane. You got to go back to E, and they're boarding group 5 already.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, how are they boarding group 5? Well, then we realized it's because everybody in groups 1 through 4 were with us.
Yeah.
It was only the people straggling up that came behind. So we get there and they're like scolding us. And we're like, we just are trying to follow the freaking directions.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve had said that they asked him to take his hoodie off while his wife in front of him could wear hers. And of course, Richard said what we all knew. Kiltman's a legend among us. So I appreciate you being on, Kiltman. He is a legend. He's awesome. But it's just, TSA travel's the craziest thing in the world.
Yes. And so even outside of another area we haven't even gotten to yet for delays is the favorite weather delay. So that is probably one of my favorite travel woes is they get on the mic and they're like, we're delayed because of weather. But it doesn't seem like there's anything around ever. And then sometimes you get on planes and they're like, all right, we're going to be hitting a little bit of turbulence. And it is it is bumpy the whole way. Like we're holding on for dear life, but that's fine to fly. Like once you're going, you're in. Like
when we flew back from New Hampshire a couple of months ago, there's going to be a little bit of turbulence. It was brutal turbulence for about 45 minutes, which I don't ever mind because once you're up there, you're either going to make it or you're not. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. But it is absolutely the funniest thing in the world to have weather delays, because my favorite one is we were flying back a few months ago. I can't remember where we were coming from, maybe Indianapolis, and they're like, we are delayed because of weather. And so it wasn't like just our plane, the entire airport was delayed. And we're like, it's sunny 64 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's because there was this huge storm that was impacting Dallas and Houston in Mississippi, and so everything was backed up. So that's the craziest thing about weather. It doesn't even have to be where you're at. It can be on the other side of the country.
Yep.
It was just the craziest thing in the world. And then, of course, my favorite, John, thank you. I do every single thing I can do in my power to not have that happen.
I've used the bathroom on a plane one time when I was 18 and I was flying to Europe. It was a long flight. I think it was like 12 hours or something. And that is the only time I've ever used the airplane bathroom. And that was enough. That was enough for me.
And then there's the lost luggage fear, right? It doesn't even have to be lost. It's just waiting for it to come to the right terminal. Waiting on luggage is the worst.
Yeah, it's definitely, I hate waiting on luggage, especially when you start seeing all those, everybody else is going and grabbing their luggage. And so you kind of go through these stages if your luggage isn't coming out in the preferred amount of time. So like there's stage 1, which is going to be denial. You keep telling yourself it's fine and it's coming, it's on the way. Stage 2, then you start getting a little angry, especially maybe if you paid for priority and your bag has not come through. Then it's like, I should have just fit it all in a backpack, or I should have just fit it all in a little purse or something. And then stage 3, just start bargaining. Like, if my bag is on this next rotation, I promise I will never mock this airline again, and I will forever be a believer in checked bags. And then there's just depression, which is stage 4, because you just end up feeling like you live there now.
Yeah.
Like that's where your world is. You're taking your vacation there. And stage 5 is acceptance. So then you know that you are just wearing airport merch to the wedding, to the holiday dinner. Like, you are a fan of that airport.
Absolutely. I want to jump to a couple of comments here. Richard asked if we've been to the Rocky Hotel Cigar Bar in Indianapolis. We did. We actually talk about Travel Woes. We're landing in Indianapolis, and the Airbnb we rented messaged us, the air conditioner in the house is out, and something's wrong with the plumbing, and we've got an entire team there working. Just ignore them and enjoy yourself. It's a very difficult thing to do. So we just said, you know what? We're going to Rocky Patel Burn.
Yeah.
And so we went over there. We had a couple of cigars. It was very enjoyable. The staff was great. He wasn't there. We actually went there 2 or 3 times over the week we were in Indianapolis, which was great. And then Kiltman said, trying to bring a skull back on the plane coming back from Texas. Yeah, that didn't go as planned. I would imagine not. I can only imagine. I'll tell you, when we got off the plane in Houston on Gady, we were in New Hampshire really for basically about a month earlier this year. We were there for 2 weeks, back home for 4 days, back there for 7 days. And we were in Boston and then up in Salem back and forth over those days. When we landed in Houston for that small period between, we landed on Gate E, which was great. That's the Gate E to B back to E. And then we landed back at E. We waited at the E luggage compartment for like 40 minutes and cannot find our luggage. So we finally asked somebody, and they said, oh yeah, we forgot to announce all of E's luggage for United flights today are going to gate A1.
Yeah.
So then it was a 30-something minute. And of course, by the time you get there, your luggage pressed up against the wall. But did I look for that? No. I went to gate 1 and watched the bags roll around. Finally, after like 20 minutes, so we landed an hour early.
Yeah. And we were like,
but now it's 2.5 hours late. And I turn around and my luggage is 3 feet behind me, pressed against the wall. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. There's so many unpredictables when you're flying. You hope it all goes smoothly. You hope it's going to go according to plan. And I would say it's a 50-50 chance. I think we've had plenty of smooth ones, but we've definitely had
absolutely
not great ones.
It just sucked. I mean, and the reality is, before we move on too much, because I want to get to cigars, I don't want the whole conversation tonight to be all about travel woes. We want to talk about traveling with cigars a little bit, but we felt like it was the right thing to start with the woes and prepare you guys, because it doesn't matter if you're flying or if you're driving, there's going to be issues and delays that come up, right?
Yep.
So let's hit a quick top 10 of travel woes according to Copilot. I just threw that there and said, tell me the top 10 complaints published in a journal or on a blog this year through Copilot, which is an AI program if you've never used it. And so this is what it came back with, a list from Travel Magazine. So number 1 on their list, 1 being the least, 10 being the highest number, the perfectly timed flight delay that isn't. The flight doesn't get canceled. Oh, no. It just gets delayed for 30 minutes at a time until they finally, after all the other flights have left, cancel yours.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Yeah, number 2 is the suitcase with a chaotic soul. And we have one of these right now. It's where one wheel's broken. So trying to roll that thing to the airport's like trying to wrestle a bear.
Yeah. And then if you have to go over carpet, I throw that in there. That's the worst. Number 3 is going to be the overconfident weather app betrayal. So the app is going to promise you a light breeze, mild sunshine, but the reality is there's a sideways blizzard, a tornado, flying lawn chairs, pretty much anything that you could think of bad weather-wise happened, and the visibility is going to be so low, you're going to question whether you still exist and are on Earth. Number 4 is the gate roulette, which we kind of touched on. So that is going to be the gate changes 11 times and then across 3 concourses. And then there's going to be a shuttle, 2 escalators, a bus. I mean, I think we've taken some weird ways to get on the train.
Yeah,
to get on the plane.
And then number 5, which really kind of crazy, is the inability for Uber to actually pick you up where you are. These airports have ride share terminals, but they're so confusing, and man, it's just hard to cut. It's brutal.
Yep.
Number 6 is the polite seat kicker behind you. They consistently sit on the airplane and recross and uncross their legs, and you feel like you're getting a little bit of a massage. It's just not quite comfortable.
Yep. Number 7 is going to be chargers, cables, and the curse of missing outlets. So I can count every time we go get on a plane, they're like, there is a charging outlet in your seat somewhere or in the seat in front of you.
But can you find it?
70% of the time, I cannot find that thing. And so that's, I feel like that's always hit or miss. Number 8 is going to be the snack regret. So you ignored your overpriced airport snacks on the principle that you are already spending money to fly. And then you board the 5-hour flight and all they have is a pretzel or something like that that looks like it should be ashamed of itself. They found it outside in the garbage.
So here's my problem. Because of that, I buy too many snacks now. I don't eat them. We bring them home, and 3 months later, I throw them away because I bought them at the airport. Why would I eat them at home? But number 9, really quick, is the inescapable chatty stranger. That is probably me. And number 10 is the luggage claim limbo. Richard brought up that, they made him pack his carry-on, and he was so afraid he was going to lose his luggage that had his cigars in it. I'm telling you, I will do everything in my power not to check my luggage because I'm with you. I do not want to lose my luggage at all because all of our carry-ons is 90% cigars on the way there and most of the time on the way back.
And I would say one thing I am surprised did not make this list, but definitely should be an honorable mention, at least for me, is going to be the germs. All of the germs that are in an airport or in all those places you travel. And I will say I'm always a little surprised when people, they're walking around like barefoot or they're laying on the ground, like eating their food or like that. So that for me is an honorable mention number 11. Just so many different people coming and going.
I'm going to tell you, it grosses me out, and Mel does it. Once I get on the plane, I got to pour the bag of whatever I'm eating in my mouth. I cannot touch what I'm eating.
I hand sanitize, and I sanitize my whole seat.
I know, but I'm just saying. It's the guy who's like taking his shoes off. He's rolling his socks up, stuffing them in there. He's messing with the back of the seat, and then his hand is wrist deep in a bag of Doritos. And then he's like, hey, do you want some?
I don't take one if that's the case.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying, ooh. Anyways,
but yeah,
hey, we have a lot more to come up around travel chaos, but in the next half, we're going to jump into cigars, talk about cigars, and be a little bit more cigar focused because, hey, this is the Cigar Rebel podcast.
Yep.
We're glad you're with us tonight, but first, we're going to jump to a quick break. We'll be right back.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details, or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Source Elevate is a consulting firm that focuses on providing resources, insight, and experience to elevate your performances. Our team's 30-plus years of experiences in executive leadership positions provide the foundation of knowledge that we provide to our clients. Allow us to elevate your company's mission, vision, and objectives over short, mid, and long-term initiatives that drive results and source new opportunities.
As always, a thank you to our sponsors. Let's go ahead and take a look at upcoming shows. So on November 24th, we have Thanksgiving Cigars and Family Stories. So that is going to be Thanksgiving Cigars, Food, Tradition, and Stories. And we have a special Added Black we'll be smoking on that one.
Yeah, one thing we asked we've added into our topics, as you guys have been asking, what are we smoking? So you might be able to smoke along with us. We are going to be smoking the Atabey Black that tonight. I'm really excited about that. And then the very next week, December 1st, do they belong in the humidor? A cigar discussion on where certain cigars fit in a serious lineup. And that cigar is to be determined what we're going to smoke that night. We have a couple. That is a night where Mel and I might be smoking 2 different cigars. Yep. And we're going to be talking about those and where do they fit in a cigar lineup in a serious cigar enthusiast humidor at home and where they might fit at the retailer's humidor. And then December 8th.
Yep, December 8th, we are doing cold nights, fires, and cigars. So that'll be fireside pairings for winter enjoyment. And we will be smoking the West Tampa Circle of Life.
And then on December 15th, we're going to be talking about unsung holiday heroes. And really, that's going to be an underrated winter cigar discussion. And we're going to talk about our top 5 of winter. We've done this for summer. We did it for fall. And now we're going to be talking about those darker Maduros, which is why we're smoking the San Latino Maduro that's blended by AJ Fernandez, a phenomenal cigar. So if you do not have those in your local brick and mortar, feel free to jump over to Two Guys Cigars and get a copy of those. Get some of those sent over to you. Or you can also go to underground.com. Their cigar shop also sells some of these, and you can get those to smoke along with us. We're really excited about those different episodes. Highly encourage you guys to go out and subscribe on that button down there below, or follow us on Facebook at Cigar Rebels or at Instagram at Cigar Rebels, so you can follow along and not miss an episode. You can always go out to YouTube and click that notify me. It'll send you an email and notify you a few days earlier, and then when we're going live, if you get busy like we do sometimes trying to do other things. We have some podcasts we like to follow, and it's easy to have those reminders.
Yeah.
So
Really.
We're super glad that you guys have joined us tonight. We've been talking about Travel Woes. Tonight we're smoking the McAuliffe Green by McAuliffe Cigars. Mel, how's the cigar treating you right now?
Honestly, I'm enjoying it. I have actually not smoked a ton of greens since they released. And in the Toro size specifically, I think this is probably my 2nd or 3rd one. Yeah. I'm enjoying it. It's not super like powerful in terms of strength to me just yet. I definitely would think it's at least a medium, but yeah. I know some people say it's more to a full. I'm not getting that full strength yet. The flavors are kind of, they reminisce on the cold draw a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of a woodiness there that wasn't there before. There's a little bit of coffee. I mentioned that espresso-ish kind of flavor on the cold draw. I didn't get it in the first third. We're kind of getting into the first third, beginning the second third. And I wouldn't call it espresso anymore. It's really kind of transitioned more to a coffee. And absolutely think this is hilarious. He's wanting to know during the commercial break if Rocky. So Mel has named the raccoon.
I've seen him enough now. I can't just keep calling him the raccoon.
Yeah, absolutely. and I'm assuming Kiltman's saying yummy because he's talking about the cigars that we're going to be smoking. Super excited. One thing we did just get in, I had posted it out on our social for our anniversary, which was just a few days ago. Mel bought me a box or the humidor from the 40th anniversary Two Guys Cigars Atabey series. It's got 5 of the dealer, I can never say the regular Atabey, and 5 of the Atabey Black. She did not know I'd ordered a box for her to surprise her with on Thanksgiving for us to smoke. So that's why we're smoking Atabey Black next week. We've got 10 of them, and we're going to enjoy them with you guys and give you our review. Absolutely wonderful cigar.
I'm excited.
So let's jump back into this thing. Yep. And let's get personal.
Yeah, so this is where it does get personal, because it is one thing if your flight is delayed or you don't get out the door in time, maybe if you're driving, but it is a whole other level if your cigars are in danger.
Yeah, let's start with a real quick reality check. In the United States, cigars themselves are totally fine to bring on a plane, carry on, checked, whatever. I carry mine on because I'm worried they're going to disappear in the checked luggage, but they're 100% allowed. There isn't any strict federal limit of how many you can take here or there as long as you're flying domestically. And honestly, when we flew to Germany, I took 200 with us and brought 500 back. You're only supposed to bring 100 back. No one asked me. I didn't tell them. They said, did you get any fruit, vegetables, or anything? And I kind of went, this is technically a leaf, but the answer is no. You're not going to get them confiscated, nor are you going to be arrested for packing a year's worth of cigars on your 1 week vacation.
Absolutely. And you know, though, there is a but, and that is going to be when it comes to cigar accessories. That is where it gets a little bit trickier. So we have talked about the torch lighters that we love. If you want to bring your own butane, those things, TSA is not a fan of those. And in general, those things will be confiscated out of a carry-on. And I've heard I think they are not often allowed in checked luggage, but I know several people who say that they check them all the time and they never have any issue. I don't know that I have ever wanted to take that risk personally.
Yeah, I've never checked one in a luggage, but I carry mine on all the time. I carry the Lotus, the Vertigo Cyclone, or I carried on our last flight to New Hampshire 2 of these lighters. We went on a cruise recently. I carried these on the cruise. And I have a secret I'm going to share with y'all, but just amongst the rebels, so nobody else on YouTube can get this, or Facebook. I like to put my laptop in there and my iPad, and then I stick my lighters in between them. And then I cram all my keys, all my electronic cords, and my phone in the front pocket. So when it runs through the X-ray, it's got my phone, all my cords, my iPad to look through, and then around my iPad is the app of my laptop. I made it to New Hampshire with 16 lighters and not one of them found. So I had torching glory.
And I will say I do not ever bring a lighter with me in through the carry-on phase, because I for sure feel like I would get caught and then they'll confiscate it. But if you're bringing like 100 of them, I know I can just borrow one of yours. But I think, too, depending on the airport, I think the only worst time you ever had with taking a lighter is when we were coming back from Germany. And remember, they just dumped out your entire backpack.
So this was, I'm going to come back to Leslie's comment in a minute, but this was the most funny thing in the world. They ran through my bag. They dumped it out. I mean, they just dumped the whole thing right on the ground, which is my nightmare. And they start digging through, like, oh, here's the lighter. They packed everything back in there, gave me my bag. And Mel's like, I can't believe they took your lighter. I was like, I didn't even know I had that one in there.
Yeah.
The only lighter they found was the one I didn't even know I had packed. And I was like, the other 8 that I had in there, they didn't even find, which was awesome. Leslie talked about Dwayne puts an air tag in their luggage so they can track it. Man, the thing I love is with United, they now do that for you, Leslie. They actually put a barcode on it and it scans every 3 minutes and gives you an update. I don't know if anybody else does that. And then she did mention that she packs her Vertigo lighters in their check bags. They've never gotten confiscated. I've heard that over and over again. I checked all of our lighters one time. So one time I checked all of our lighters in our check bag. We made it to our destination, got all the way to the house, unpacked. I was ready to have a cigar. They were all gone. They had a note in there that they had confiscated them. So that's what kind of scared me. But since then, I've heard tons of people do it. And so I just play the risk, and I pack multiples in different places. So as soon as they find one, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot that was in there. I'm so sorry. They zip it up and move on, and I'm like, the other 6 made it.
Hopefully they're not listening, because then,
So, and the one thing we do is plastic cutters are great. The straight cuts, the perfect cuts, V cuts, punches. I pack those in my backpack all the time. They never care.
Yeah, I think they treat those more like your small tools, or like Leslie's knitting and scissors. They don't care about that. No, cutters, you're good to go. I still don't know that I would, if you would hate to lose it, I would say don't take it with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be on the safe side. But in general, I don't think I've ever had a cutter of any sort confiscated.
Yeah, and then there's humidor drama, right? You pack your cigars, you have your humidity pack in there, you feel responsible, and halfway through, you trip and your cigars fall out everywhere, or you get all the way through the trip and the cigars are drier than you want, or they're maybe bloated a little bit because they drank too much water, which is one of the reasons why when I travel, we only travel with Bovita packs. in order to have that strategy.
Mm-hmm. And so we usually, like you were saying, we will always bring a small carry-on bag, and that one is not going to be one that has jinky wheels. All of our carry-ons that we take, we've two, they are in perfect condition, so we can just roll them through the airport. And in that, we will pack usually a 75 count humidor and maybe one of those plastic tupperdoors, and we fill those with cigars. And then we usually bring 2 gallon-sized Bobita bags in our backpacks if we are bringing a backpack.
And if you didn't really didn't pick up on this, we rarely travel without a lot of cigars.
That is true.
And there's a couple of reasons why. And I know this is in our notes somewhere later. I'm going to drop it in here. We'll skip it later. I have a fear of not having what I want to smoke when I want to smoke it. So I bring a mixture of mild, mediums, and stronger bodied cigars. I'm also a big believer, I like to make friends. And my friends often have cigars, or they only brought one down to smoke, or they only came up to the deck once with one. But you're in mid-conversation, and you can tell they're oogling the cigar you're smoking. So I want to have some to share. So I bring way too many cigars when we travel. It really is just the way to travel when you're going for that.
Yep.
We rarely get to our destination without cigars ready to enjoy. We've only gotten to, when we were going to the Dominican last year, a few of our cigars were a little heavily humidified because it was a long flight, all those things. So then it's just really easy. We just burped the containers there, left them open overnight, kind of dry boxed them a little bit, and then we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. So moving to another travel woe that does have to deal with cigars, that is going to be that you arrive at your destination, you are ready to smoke your cigar, and the destination that you are going to is actually the opposite of cigar friendly. And there are plenty of those locations here in the States and or outside of the US. So you might see a smoker-friendly balcony. I know you have ran into that a lot of times, especially for your morning cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. We've booked places that have smoker-friendly. Sorry, my phone was going off. I forgot to turn it off, so I was turning the volume off. Yep. The smoker-friendly balcony, but when we get there, they kind of have a sign that's like, if we catch you smoking, we'll charge your credit card rent for the next decade.
Yep.
I hate on cruise ships. So you have this huge balcony. You're out in the middle of nowhere doing like 40 miles to maybe 100 miles an hour. I don't know how fast cruise ships go, but it feels like you're going pretty fast. And smoking on the deck is like the worst sin.
Yep.
It's frustrating. We actually stayed at an A-Loft hotel 2 days ago in Fort Worth, and it was wonderful. I got outside on Sunday morning to have my morning cigar and coffee, and they had this amazing setup with nice chairs. They had cigar and cigarette ashtrays. And then there was actually a couch that was like really comfy looking. So about halfway through my cigar, I'm like, I'm going to move over to the couch. Just going to change the scenery. There was an amazing sign over there. It said, please enjoy your cigar here. But if other families come sit here, please move over to our other comfortable chairs. I'm like, man, these people got it together.
Yeah, that's a nice surprise.
Make sure you know where you're going, has somewhere to enjoy your cigar.
Mm-hmm.
I've also found myself on a hotel morning going for a small drive to enjoy a cigar.
Yep. And then, of course, there's also weather sabotage. Maybe you have done everything right. You have done your homework on the weather. You have gotten your travel humidor with a good selection of your favorite cigars. You've got all the accessories that you need. And then you get there and it's either raining or there's a snow blizzard outside, no covered patio, no heaters. It's so cold you can't even physically hold your cigar, and that always is the worst.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is there's a hotel that we've stayed at a few times to go visit, and the only covered area, if it's raining, is actually next to the trash can. It's by the hotel's dumpster that always smells horrid. So those are mornings I end up driving around in the car because there is no way I'm going to enjoy my cigar sitting out there.
Yep. And a huge shout out to all of the people who try to light the cigar with those teeny tiny hotel matches in those 30-mile gusts of wind. So you, my friend, are the true rebel, because I know some people love to light their cigars with matches, I generally do not, and if it is those teeny tiny ones, that's a pass for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's do something different. Let's get to the fun part, okay? Let's jump ahead a little bit. Let's go through all of the things we've talked about. There's the travel woes. Make sure you plan effectively, bring the right lighter, the right cutter, bring enough cigars, know where you're going to land. But if you've got through all of that, what should you bring with you to enjoy this holiday season? What cigars? What should we really have?
Yeah, so I think travel-friendly cigars is a
Right.
great segue into that topic, because some cigars even maybe travel a little bit better than others, depending on the journey.
So let's talk vitolas and wrappers, not necessarily brand, although we can jump into brands. We'd love to see brands in the comments if you guys want to share brands that you like to travel with you. I've got a few that I like to bring. We'll let folks plug in their own favorites, but let's talk vitolas and wrappers.
So for me personally, when I'm traveling, I love to take an assortment of Robustos. So those are going to be the 5x50 Classic. They are not too long. It's good 45-minute cigar smoking time, which sometimes that might be the only window we have, so it's perfect. I also love a Corona and Petite Corona. They're great for smoking, even more so in between events. A Petite Corona is going to be quicker even than a Robusto.
Absolutely. So I'm going to interject there. We were on a cruise just last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, and between dinner and the show we wanted to go to, Petite Corona was the perfect. We smoked ladybugs a couple times.
Yep.
We smoked Weaselitos.
Yep.
It's just the perfect little smoke, 20, 30 minutes. Enjoy a cigar between dinner and going to see a show.
Yep. If I know I have a nice lump sum of time, I will do a Gordo. So this is the cigar that you're going to bring if you want a constant excuse to wait for the next round of cribbage or card game.
Yeah, if you're going to Thanksgiving dinner and you don't really want to play the board game or cards with the family, the Gordo's the perfect cigar because it's always got a little bit longer.
Yeah, that is true.
It's never done, right? Those are great suggestions. Like I said, especially the Petite Corona. It's also a really great early morning coffee break to start the day. And really, each day on vacation, I highly encourage you have a coffee and a cigar. I'm typically a Habano, what we call the fresh road blend from the Elevated Humidor. I actually smoke it in the Toro, and that's my morning cigar. But not everybody wants to commit that much time in the morning.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. So we generally like to break it down to a 4 or 5 day trip, because I think that's pretty solid for people who are traveling in general. They're going to be gone
Absolutely.
for 4 or 5 days. So the different cigars that you want to bring, like you were saying, is you want to do your morning and your coffee cigars. So something mild to medium, maybe creamy and nutty, something not too much of a nicotine hammer in the morning. It's going to be perfect if you're up early on the balcony, if they allow you to smoke on that balcony, or if you're watching other people stress about their excursions, like if you're on a cruise or something like that. Afternoon cigars, that's going to be more medium-bodied sticks, maybe a Robusto you can enjoy with a bourbon or an espresso martini by the pool or wherever you are traveling. And then, of course, celebration or nightcap cigars. So these ones are going to be a fuller bodied option, or maybe if you are celebrating something and you brought a special cigar or two with you. That happens a lot when we travel. Usually we have one night, we're going to be like, we're smoking this cigar like on our anniversary night or something like that. And that could be any profile, really. That's just a specialty cigar.
Absolutely. Steve said that he likes the Lone Star Attitude with coffee. For those that have not had the Lone Star Attitude, it's by the Elevated Humidor. It's one of the 2 newest releases that are out. So thanks for that. Shout out, Steve. I agree. I love that cigar with coffee. I might actually prefer a little bit more with a chai latte because of the spiciness to it. But I actually had it with coffee yesterday, so it's an excellent cigar for that. When you're planning for the trip, always think about the time windows that you're going to have. Maybe the layovers, the hotel, weather, and how all that's going to cut into your time. A Robusto and Corona really give you a solid experience in order to get a cigar in. And if for some reason you end up having longer than planned, you can always have 2.
Yeah, 100%. And then the next question is going to be quantity. So we get asked all the time, because we travel so much, how many cigars are you taking with you on your trip? And a good rule of thumb, I think, is as many as you think that you can smoke in that time, and then bring 2 emergency cigars with you as well.
Absolutely. Definitely a yes to emergency cigars, because something always happens. As I mentioned earlier, you make friends with somebody who likes cigars, they didn't bring one up, or they only had one and they could have time to have 2 and you want to be able to share them. Also, your plans change. Absolutely love this one from John. Corona for a quick smoke, a few house blends for cigars. I might want a cigar, but unsure if he's going to have time to enjoy it. Maybe some luxury options if he knows he's going to be able to have a bourbon. I definitely like to bring some bundle cigars with us that's just easy to smoke. And then the other thing is, again, we travel a ton. We're staying at Airbnbs or hotels. I had one recently. We were at an Airbnb smoking a cigar. I had the cigar in my mouth. I sneezed, and into the hot tub it went.
Yeah.
There is no recovering that.
Yeah.
No problem. I've got a spare in the wrapper set up on top of the thing. Grab it, bite off the end because my cutter's over by the chair, light it, and move on.
Yeah, and that would be, I think you mentioned perfectly, you want to have your emergency cigars, because we have learned from experience, if you bring the exact amount, like your morning cigars. When we first started traveling, you brought just the exact amount that we were going to be gone. And then something might happen to one of them one day, or could unfortunately be maybe in the weather change or something. The cigar doesn't light, it doesn't draw, it doesn't burn well, and you're not enjoying smoking it for whatever reason. And that could just be an issue with that. And then again, if you are going to be in a very public place, maybe with fellow cigar smokers, we say 2 emergency cigars. But if you're traveling to where you're going to be spending time at somewhere like that's going to have a lot of new cigar friends there, and you like to share cigars, maybe you want to bump that up, because maybe you're sharing a cigar every time you meet with someone.
Absolutely.
So,
and that happened to us recently. I shared the LSA Lone Star Attitude, as Steve mentioned a few minutes ago, with a guy named Steve, and shared. And then a couple of guys we were talking that were new to cigar smoking, we shared some of the Cigar Rebel custom blends with them and smoked. So when we travel, I always, for that trip that was that 3 to 4 or 5 day trip, I typically bring 10 or so extras to share with people.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm an over planner. So for a 3 day trip, I might bring 4 morning cigars, 3 or 4 medium all-arounders, 3 special ones. So that's really like 11 cigars. And then I'll bring 5 or 10 more that I can share. Really, you don't want to be moving with an entire cigar-centric kind of carry-on, although that is what we do. You may not want to do that. The other thing is, if you're going on a cigar-centric trip, like we had 13 people that traveled us from here at Lufkin up to Salem, New Hampshire for 2 Guys Cigar Expo for their anniversary party, the New England Cigar Expo. So we travel with a lot of cigars because that was a cigar-centric trip. We were all going to smoke cigars together during the day. We're going to have a cigar after lunch. We're going to have a cigar at the event. We're going to have a cigar around the fire at night.
Yep.
So for that trip, I actually planned like 7 to 8 cigars a day. I didn't make my way through that many, but I definitely did that.
Yeah, you had the option had you had more time. And so my encouragement for people is to bring brands and bring, cigars with the wrappers that you enjoy. Bring a few things outside of your normal rotation and maybe try something new while you're relaxing and enjoying the weather. And a bonus to that is if you are going to be meeting new people, there's a lot of times that maybe they've had a cigar we've never heard of that they'll share with us. And we oftentimes have quite a few cigars that maybe they've never heard of that we'll share with them that we bring.
Yeah, John mentioned he likes to stop at local brick and mortars. Steve said they plan their trips to start at cigar locations. I 100% agree with that. If y'all been following along Cigar Rebel, we've mentioned that a few times. We love dropping into cigar shops. As many of you guys know, we have a cigar brand. And rarely am I dropping into a shop to talk about the brand. I want to drop in to support them, to purchase cigars they're selling. And a lot of times what I do at that time is I ask them about cigars I've never smoked. And that really brings me to kind of this next point. because as we look at it, we talk about profiles, if you're going to the beach or it's going to have a pool. Then I really kind of think about milder and medium cigars. If it's going to be a cold weather cabin, I want richer, fuller bodied. If it's really kind of a city where we're going to set up like we were in New Orleans earlier this year, and you're going to be kind of overlooking the city, you're going to having cocktails and bourbon, more mid to full bodied, something that has a little bit more complexity that can match what you're drinking. And all of those things are really important when you're making a plan for your stay. But I don't know that we've gone on a trip other than this last one where we've not visited at least 2 cigar shops.
Yeah, this was probably the first time in a really long time.
And it's because the whole goal of this trip was to unplug and not really visit anywhere, not to have conversations. We were on a cruise. And then after that, we were going to see some state band competition. It was really family focused, so we didn't visit. But that's rare for us.
Right. Yep. So, I mean, that was definitely, I didn't think about that till just now. So,
all right. So I want to jump in. I want to do one last thing before we wrap up tonight. We're almost at an hour. I think we want to finish with something I like to call Cigar Travel Court.
So I should preface, I didn't agree necessarily to this name, but we are doing it and it is happening anyway. So we're going to start with case number 1, Your Honor, since this is your naming here. So you are on a 3-day trip. You have planned exactly 3 cigars, 1 for each
Wouldn't
night.
happen.
I know. Well, hey, this is your court. So you have 1 for each night. On day 1, your buddy who doesn't normally smoke a cigar says, "Hey, can I try one of those with you?" Do you share and risk being cigarless on your last night, or do you keep your stash intact? And a caveat to that would be, does the answer change at all if your cigars are maybe they're special celebration $70 cigars, or maybe they're just your normal $10 cigars?
Look,
So
I'm a generous person, but I'm also a planner. I brought 3 cigars. Those bad boys are mine. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry. I give them the cigar, and then the next day I follow John and Steve's advice, and I go hunt for another one at a cigar shop.
Yep.
We were actually in Augusta, Georgia earlier. I think that was this year. Yeah, it was earlier this year. And all I had on me extra at the cigar shop we went to, we were smoking there. They were having an issue with their register and couldn't sell anymore. The only thing I had on me was a God of Fire KDP, a $77 cigar. And I shared it with the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share, right? Worst case scenario is you go to a local shop, you try something new, and you make a new memory.
Yep. So same, I would be in the same boat there. And there has been plenty of times we have been vacationing and maybe someone has never smoked a cigar before.
Yep.
So we give them one and we get to be there at the start of their journey. And that's always amazing. And a total side note to that is you would never just pack 3 cigars like you said.
Yeah, so let's jump to case number 3, okay? You have 2 checked bags, one with clothes and one with cigars. The airline says they lost one. Which one do you secretly hope it is?
So for me, I'm going to say my shirts all day long, because no matter where we're going, I can buy more shirts. And most likely, those shirts are going to be cheaper than the cigars that I'm bringing with me on a lump sum level.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I'm wearing the same outfit for 3 days in a row because I'm not letting my cigars go, right? They cannot disappear into airline limbo.
Yep.
But it's also why I carry cigars onto the plane and the carry-on. I never personally check them. But that really is the deal, right? We would prefer chaos and keep the cigars.
Yep, 100%.
Right. I might complain the whole time, but I'll be happy in the end.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And so then I have one more quick hypothetical for tonight that goes with our topic. And so you have to choose between a perfectly smooth travel experience, but there are no cigars at your destination, or a travel day that is full of delays, annoyances, and germs, but you end up with an incredible lounge and perfect weather and a humidor full of your top 5 cigars when you get there.
Try not to sneeze. Sorry, I don't know why I had to sneeze all of a sudden. I'm going to take chaos, right? I would rather have a chaotic experience and enjoy cigars and an incredible shop, meeting new friends, and enjoying the luxuries of enjoying a cigar. And that goes back to, I know John and Steve mentioned, I already mentioned earlier, but I've hit a really quick note here that always scope out cigar shops and lounges at your destination before you leave for your trip. Don't worry about space of how you're going to bring cigars back that you purchased. Just smoke enough of the ones you brought to fit those in. Or at worst case, like we did a couple of years ago, we bought an extra bag to bring back the cigars we bought.
Yeah. I mean, there is plenty of Tupperware out there that you can grab on a quick whim if you end up having more cigars to bring back than you thought.
100%. Entering the holiday season, we want to say one thing, Rebels. We hope that your travel goes smoothly. You don't deal with any of these travel woes or any of these issues. And more importantly, we hope you enjoy some incredible cigars along the way.
Absolutely. So that is our show for tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. If you liked this episode, leave us a review or share with your cigar friends and hit us up with any questions and or limited releases. We're still getting some plops from that in every week. So we are looking at analyzing those as we go.
Absolutely. And next week, we're going to jump into Thanksgiving traditions, cigars, and food. So come prepared to share with us your stories, maybe what your favorite Thanksgiving food is. We'll throw it up on the screen. We'll talk about it. And we're going to be smoking an incredible cigar, giving you our review of the Atabey Black and talking about all the things we're going to be doing the next week at Thanksgiving. Hopefully give you some ideas, and hopefully y'all give us some.
Yes. So until next week, keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palate curious.
Have a good night, guys.